Hi, Misha here, and we like to show you guns that are less common. And a few months ago we looked at the German Heckler & Koch, the HK VP70Z. Well, today we have something a little similar, a little different. Good old style cases. We have an HK P7 M13, the squeeze cocker. Empty. Obviously, you know, the squeeze cocker. Also, this is a gas delayed blowback gun, quite interesting. And like I said, this is the M13 variant, so it uses double stack, although single feed mags, 9x19. The M10 was a 40 Smith & Wesson version, and they even planned to do a 45 ACP version, although it never really got off the ground. This is of course based on the original P7 PSP, made for the West German police. It served alongside the SIG P225, known as the P6, and the Walther P5. But first they upgraded to the M8, a lot to appeal to North America, including the release. And then they did the double stack M13. Legend has it these were done for the XM9 trials, 81-82. Walther also submitted what we would know today as the P88 for those trials. So we're going to take a look at this, talk about it. We have featured a P7 on the channel before, but it was the PSP version. This will be the first M13. So with that, we'll dive in. Here at the table, and if you're thinking I said we're supposed to be on vacation, you are correct. However, an opportunity to check this gun out came our way. Couldn't pass it up. Plus, well, let's be honest, last couple of videos were a bit of a downer because of that range day. So let's have some more upbeat things. And if you would like to help support the channel, please do like, share, subscribe. And if you'd really like to help us out, go over and check out the Patreon. Here's the case. It is actually serial matched, even embossed here for the gun. He also sent a couple of extra HK factory mags, still sealed in a thick plastic bag. So that's material. So with that, let's press this, open up, check out what comes, or rather came, inside. So as you see, it's in the old school box with the kind of finger latch. Manual housed up here. We have pretty common cleaning brush with cover. And we have a carbon scraper tool thing, because like I said, this is a gas blowback gun, and everything fits in here. It's HK, pretty tight. We have our spare mag, and of course the pistol itself. It's in really good shape. In fact, the owner says it's never been fired, and the owner he picked it up from says he never shot it either. And I believe it is date coded II, which would be 1988. So it's made it 35 years without being fired in this world. Most people will pick these up for collector's items. That's HKs for you. And that's kind of the problem about buying mint unfired guns is, you know, people aren't ever going to fire them. And so they remain unfired and unenjoyed. So it would be crazy to shoot this after 35 years, wouldn't it? Alright, first shots in 35 years. What do you know, it works. During my shooting clip there, you might have noticed I was letting off and then showing the trigger. That was to try to show something that you really need to feel to understand. This, to actually cock it, is about 12-13 pounds, but once it's in, there's a detent, so it only requires a couple of pounds of pressure to keep it. See, I'm just holding with one finger. You have to let it all the way go forward. So even if you slip a millimeter or two, it still stays cocked. You have to let it all the way out. On the other hand, you have to press it all the way in before it's ready to go. So, a lot of thought actually went into this. And while I have fired the older M8 and PSP, I have to admit the thicker grip of the M13 actually works really well with the front squeeze, giving more purchase area. I don't know, it feels less like a handful, less bulky, if that makes any sense at all. Again, this gun is all about how it feels, so trying to explain it on camera is unfortunately pretty inadequate. So, with that being the case, let's continue shooting. Second mag.
Pretty clean.
And very hot right here.
So you were talking about the grip cocker there.
Yeah, the lemon squeezers is known. Yeah, we were talking about it. Of course, J-Ro's familiar with 1911s, and that's what most people in America are, but it's in the front. Now, it's not just a safety, it literally cocks the weapon and decocks it when you let loose. It also serves as a multi-control. That.
Here, let me get a close-up of the... Here, show me the cocker decocker again. You can actually see the firing pin come back.
Oh, okay. Yep. So, yeah, anyway, when the automatics were new, some guns did have their grip safety in front. The Italian Glycinti comes to mind, as did the early Nambu designs, what we call like the Papa and whatnot today. So, yeah, back in the day, now those were just pure safeties. This one is, well, it's HK. And of course, as I said when we were shooting it, it is warm here because of the gas piston under the barrel for the delayed action. This does have the heat shield built in, the M13 does. The original PSP did not, so it really got warm. And even though it is a blowback gun, recoil, it's not too snappy. It's snappier than like a tipping barrel, say on a Glock or 1911, but it's not as snappy as, say, with that VP70 we showed you last year.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting how, like, as a safety feature, having that front cocker, you're actually, like, cocking the firing pin, as opposed to, like a grip safety on a 1911 or something, where you're allowing the sear and the trigger bar to engage.
Yeah, because it was meant to be a duty gun for a police officer, so this way you had a gun, you could have one in the chamber, you didn't have to mess with taking the safety off if you pulled it out of your holster. It was a way to have a gun safe in a holster all day, but also have it ready in one fluid motion coming out. The only problem is, this came, I think it was New Jersey police, some were, just to double check, it is empty, guys. Some would pull it out, squeeze automatically, and kind of rest their finger on, and yeah, there were some incidents of ground or even toes being shot. Not probably as many as the lure would make it out to be, but I did talk to someone who firsthand dealt, he used to work for HK, dealt with a couple of police officers that had some ADs or NDs because of this system. So it's one of those things that on paper, it made perfect sense, but in reality, sometimes, well, you know.
Well, the only real safety is keeping your booger picker off the bang switch.
Yep. And they got so used to this being a dead trigger, I think it kind of desensitized them a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, it's starting to cool off, so put a couple more mags to it.
The pistol tends to heat up here on the frame thanks to the gas piston or gas retardation system for the action. Now, as like I said, the M8 and M13 do have a heat shield. The initial version did not, but even that, while you won't scorch yourself on it, it will be hot. It is a unique system. And why does it get hot there? Well, let's take it apart, check it out. It's actually very easy to disassemble. There's just a button here. Press in and pull your slide back. You don't even track the slide that far, you just pull it back and then pop it up while holding down. That just latches it on and pull it off. Your frame looks really standard, kind of like a lot of 32s, 380s, what have you, in service, with the mainspring around the barrel. This is a fixed barrel. There's pros and cons to that. The difference in how this is able to fire 9x19 Luger, Parabellum, even NATO, is this piston here. It has variations here. It is keyed to the slide, and it actually interacts with a gas port under here, actually right in front of the breech of the chamber. There's a port which is exactly where it heats up, so gas is flowing from the barrel, hitting the frame here, and then instead of pushing, well, it is pushing on this, pushing it forward, while the cartridge on the face is pushing it back. So for a second, the two forces cancel each other out. Once the chamber pressure drops, and there's no more hot gas pressing on this, then the leftover inertia can fling the slide back and cycle the action. Why do they do this? This is an interesting system. Well, it has to do with the original requirements that HK developed this for in the mid-70s. Ever since the end of World War II through the 50s and 60s, when West German police were armed, if they were, they typically just had simple blowback guns. Here's a 7.65 32 caliber Walther. Hey, it's good enough for James Bond, it's good enough for the German police. And those were adequate for the time. But in the 70s, you have the rise of terrorist groups, communist, anti-capitalist groups, body armor things. There's a need for a more potent round. But, the nice thing about a little blowback gun, they're relatively inexpensive. They're relatively durable. The fixed barrel also makes them quite accurate. They were just a simple, dependable, and safe gun for a police officer to have, and they were economical for lots of police departments, even ones that didn't have a ton of funding. There was an interesting interim attempt. Here's my Walther. This is, of course, just the regular PP Palazzo pistol. This is a PP Super. Interesting attempt. This is based on World War II technology, the 9mm Ultra, developed in the 9mm Police for the West German police. This is 9x18, not to be confused with 9x18 PM, 9x18 Makarov. This was still a blowback gun. It was an attempt to still have a blowback gun, but have as much power as could safely and effectively be operated. A few companies made guns for 9mm police, but it was just a short little flash in the pan, 1974, 1975. It did give a little more oomph than 32 or even 380, but the problem is, with just a straight blowback like this, it's snappy. You're also getting quite heavy, and the benefits really just aren't there. Thus, this was created for trials. Now, the Germans wanted about 2 pounds, not much more than that. It needed to be capable of quite good accuracy. It needed to be safe to carry with one in the chamber. And you need to fire a 9x19 Parabellum Luger. That's why they went with the piston system and the recoil spring. The fixed barrel maintains accuracy. The piston actually lets it be quite lightweight as far as the gun. It also makes the pull of the slide quite light. It's actually maybe even lighter than this, even though it fires. Yeah, this has a heftier spring and fires a weaker cartridge, both 9mm, but you know, this one's more potent. The multi-control is pretty neat, and of course the safety we've already talked about. And I didn't want to really give the impression these were unsafe. They certainly weren't. I was just kind of mentioning a story from an HK rep I heard, and it does go to show you that training, no matter how safe you make a gun, training and the laws of gun handling, the rules, the range rules, are always important. Imperative even. But it is a different gun, and that was kind of my point. It's a very different manual of arms from a revolver or a 1911, which is what most American police were used to. But the German police really liked it. In 1978, the PSP, the Police Service Pistol, was adopted. Or rather, 3 guns were adopted, were cleared, were approved for police use. The German Federal Police went with the HK, designated as the P7. The SIG became the P6. I don't actually have a P6. I really should have hung on to one. We had so many in the gun shop for years. They were gorgeous guns for what they cost. But here's my Swiss P220. Same gun, except it was a little bit shorter barrel, essentially, and a few other little changes for West Germany. And then, of course, another one a police department could choose to purchase was the Walther P5. They're actually all very different systems. The Walther has an updated P38 system with the wedge under the barrel. Interestingly, it too has a multi-control. This serves as a decocker and slide release. The SIG is maybe the most conventional, just, you know, decocker only. All 3 adopted guns would be 8 rounds. Again, that would be the PSP, not the M13 exactly, but, you know, hey. All would be some version of double action, but also some way of being carried safe. This uses, of course, a Browning style tilting tipping, and then, of course, we've already talked about this. Allows it to be quite lightweight while still being an all steel gun. These are actually alloy frames, which maybe make them slightly lighter, but the HK is more durable, something HK is well known for. And really, again, thanks to its barrel, really quite accurate. These are supposed to be very good with second follow-up shots. So these are the guns that German police would be using, or at least variants of these, in the 1980s. Pretty neat. And with that, it certainly has cooled off enough. And I've put a couple of mags through it. We have a little ammo and a little time left. Let's let Jero figure it out. And he's never handled one of these, much less shot one. So let's see how quickly he picks up on its operation and what he thinks about shooting it.
Seems pretty straightforward.
It generally is. Ready to give it a go?
Let's give it a shot.
So what do you think?
It's interesting. I mean, it's smooth shooting. When you've got an actual good grip on the gun, I don't feel like this is a big impediment in some way. Once it's actually engaged and you're ready to go, you know, your shooting grip feels pretty normal. I do think it's interesting that when it's empty and you squeeze that, it goes ahead and drops the slide forward. It's cool. It's very different, but I mean, ergonomically and the way it shoots, no complaints.
What do you think of the recoil?
I mean, it's a little snappy, but no, I mean, overall, it's not like it's unmanageable or anything. I mean, it's got a little bit of punch to it, but no, I thought it was pretty smooth shooting.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like a straight blowback like, say, a Makarov, but it's not quite as gentle, and I don't know, it's different. Next time we'll have to bring out the VP70 and let you try it. It's a straight blowback 9mm.
But yeah, I like it. It's very unusual.
Yeah, it's actually quite enjoyable, quite fun. Of course, we've had 100% reliability. That's what you'd expect with an HK. And very appreciative to get a chance to kind of mess with one of these. It's a neat little piece of history. Like I said, it was designed, or at least an improved version for the XM9 trials, namely having the higher capacity. One thing that's kind of interesting, we pointed it out, because they started with the 8-round mag and they needed a certain level of compatibility with the slide and everything. That's why it is tapered, which actually does give it a somewhat reduced capacity for its size. You would think the mag about this size would hold 15 rounds even in the 80s, but you're kind of losing a bit because of this neck here. It is a heavy duty mag though, quite a good mag. Of course, the XM9 trials were kind of a way for a lot of pistol makers to showcase. Here's the Walther P88 itself put onto the market. The M13 appeared around 82, 83. The P88 was very early prototyping stage during those trials, and since they didn't win, they would go on to develop it. One fun thing, excuse me, about the Walther P88. There were a lot of running changes throughout its production. Here's its mag. This is a true 15-rounder. Even though it is, you know, technically single feed 2, you notice that it's still bulged here all the way to the top. Where is this? Hope that makes sense. Something I wanted to convey. It's a unique magazine design. This is much more standard. 15 rounds was seen as average or even above average, because up to that point, really the high power had set the standard for capacity. Of course, there is the French PA-15 as well. Really do like the Walther P88, but it's a very expensive pistol. Of course, SIG would expand their pistol to become the 226. We last year did a video on this. It too has many of the same features from the XM9 trials. And the winner would be, of course, an updated version of Beretta's 92, the 92 FS in the end. But you can kind of see how there's all that notion for the trials and, you know, why this came to be. Even though I don't have a P7 PSP to show you today, several years ago we did do a little brief review when we had another one loaned to us, and I will put that link in the description. Yeah, we're a lot younger and everything else, but it's there just in case you might want it. And here's the VP70. Actually, recently did a video on it. It is a true blowback 9mm, also true double action only, and you can definitely tell it's a stiffer system. I do strangely like it, and it, for what it's worth, sit you down for a second, does have true double stack double feed mags that hold a capacity of 18. You can really see it here that the 18 round mag is not that much taller. Tapered. We'll have to revisit the VP70 soon. It was a lot of fun to shoot in a weird way. It shouldn't be, but it is. Just overheard to install mags one-handed like this. Heel release. Anyway, enough jabber. Let's put another mag to this. One more mag just for fun. Held open. Again, perfect reliability. No surprises there. It's HK. It really is a slick and interesting system. The M13 has seen really no military adoption, a few maybe special forces here and there. It has seen limited police use, but the fact is most police, if they were going to get one of these, obtained the original PSP. It was available, at least it was manufactured from about 82 to 2000, meaning this one is a mid-production run. Although the 94 assault weapons ban in America really did impact quote-unquote high-capacity guns like this. Also, rising production costs and newer technology kind of got in the way. But really happy to have had a chance to mess with it a bit, kind of get some impressions, and share it with you. But this is not my gun. As I said at the beginning, as far as we know, it was unfired. And I asked the owner who loaned it to us if he was sure he wanted us to shoot it. And he said, yes, definitely. He actually confirmed it both over email and phone. So, not going to say no to that. However, there's one thing, test firing, and it's another to really continuously fire. So, I think a box of ammo is enough. We know it works. We got to pop its cherry, as it were. But, we don't want to overstay our welcome, abuse our privilege there. Again, here's the case, the old school style. The manual is up in the top. It's held on by 4 clips. Everything's got its little spot, even a little cutout for the base plate, scraper, and of course the pistol itself has its little location. It's a neat case for holding everything in presentation, and I actually found the way they did the serial number quite nice as well, but that's exactly what it is for presentation. There's not really a place to put, say, an extra mag if you want to go for shooting, or a box of ammo. Certainly no way to fit any kind of extra tools or anything in here. This was made as a storage presentation case. There's not even a handle to carry it with. So it's not really a practical case. Honestly, I like more modern cases. I mean, look at a modern Glock case versus the old Tupperware style. The old Tupperware is cool for nostalgia, but the modern case is much more useful as a range case. But this is all part of history. In the video with the VP70 we showed you, it's box 2. It actually came in a 2-piece cardboard box. And I actually had the box for the Walther P88 in storage as well. It was an old cardboard style. Things change, markets change. I should mention that while most of these were blued, or the black finish, there were a handful of nickeled ones, factory nickeled ones that came in the early 90s, 92, 93 I believe. And the M10s, the 40 Smith & Wesson version, also came in blued and nickel, but actually there were more nickeled than blued there. And years ago, for a friend, I had and sold his P7 M10 nickeled. and it was in the box unfired too. It's kind of around that era, early 90s, when these guns start to switch from primarily being bought as shooters to more maybe collector pieces. And I don't blame them. It's a neat gun. Several years back, German police surplus P7 PSPs were available, and I really should have kept one. They were more expensive than the P6s and the P5s, but a lot of them were in excellent condition. A lot of them still had the box, came with a leather holster. You know, I've hung on to quite a few guns over the years, but, you know, we can't always keep all of them. We can't always make the right decision. So, again, very appreciative to the owner of this for letting us borrow it and share it with you. It works. Surprise, surprise, right? It's an HK. But with that, I think we've done enough. Let's get that back over to him and kind of get back to it. Maybe we'll get to be able to have some vacation time, but it seems like as soon as I say, hey, we're taking a break, then some neat things like this come along. But we needed a good range day after the failure of the Walther 3 and everything, and yeah, it was a good day today, even though it was completely impromptu, no plans, just the weather broke and was relatively nice for August, so we went, and I'm glad we did. It was a little fun, kind of nice to get out, do a little shooting, get some air. Anyway, if you'd like to help support us again, check out the link to Patreon. Liking, sharing, subscribing, also excellent. And this is Misha, and we'll catch you very soon next time.